Raith Rovers Football Club is a Scottish professional football club based in the town of Kirkcaldy, Fife. The club was founded in 1883 and currently competes in the Scottish Championship as a member of the Scottish Professional Football League, having been promoted from the second division as champions in 2009. The club's highest ever league position came in 1922, when it finished third behind champions Celtic and runners-up Rangers in Division 1. The club has won 2 national trophies, the Scottish League Cup in 1994 by penalty shootout, and on April 6, 2014, Rovers won the 2013 Euro 14 Scottish Challenge Cup after beating Rangers 1-0 with a late goal from John Baird in extra time. The club also came runners-up in 1949 as well as being losing finalists in the 1913 Scottish Cup final. Below the top flight of Scottish football, the club has won the second tier 5 times, coming runners-up on the same number of occasions, the last coming in 2010 Euro 11 behind rivals Dunfermline Athletic. As a result of winning the League Cup in 1994, Raith Rovers qualified for the UEFA Cup the following season. The club managed to reach the second round, only to be defeated 4-1 on aggregate to eventual champions FC Bayern Munich. Raith's home ground is Starks Park, an 8,867 all-seater stadium in the south of Kirkcaldy. The club has been based at the ground since 1891. History Beginnings and club name. The modern Raith Rovers were founded in 1883 in the Scottish town of Kirkcaldy, playing at Robbie's Park. Though there were other teams who incorporated the town name, such as Kirkcaldy Wanderers and Kirkcaldy United, Raith became the most successful of the local teams, winning 5 trophies in the 1890s. There had been a much earlier Raith Rovers which merged with what is now Cowdenbeath in 1882. Although it lends its name to many entities in the region, Raith is not itself a settlement. A Raith Rovers victory in the 1960s led to a famous BBC commentator's blunder that the fans would be dancing in the streets of Raith tonight. Although commonly attributed to Englishman David Coleman, this was actually said by Scotsman Sam Leitch. Raith as an area once stretched from south of Loch Jelly as far as Kirkcaldy, and the Battle of Raith is said to have been fought here in 596 AD. Raith House and Raith Tower sit on Cormy Hill to the west of Kirkcaldy, and several parts of the town are built on land formerly of the Raith estate, although the modern housing estate bearing the Raith name dates from long after the origins of the team. A mixture of local success and ambition took the club into the senior leagues, where they established themselves and thereby became the preeminent team in the town. The club became a senior team in 1889. Around the same time they were forced to leave Robbie's Park, which was incorporated into a new public park called the Beveridge Park, named after Provost Michael Beveridge. The team subsequently moved to their current home of Starks Park, named after and run by Councillor Robert Stark, in 1891. The club turned professional by 1892 and were the first football team in Fife to be elected to the Scottish League in season 1902 March. The club were incorporated into a limited company, the Raith Rovers Football and Athletic Company, Limited, by 1907. After 2 consecutive successful seasons in second division, the club elected to join the first division in 1909 October. 3 years later, the club made their first appearance in the Scottish Cup final, losing 2-0 to Falkirk. Setting records. In 1921, an innovation in training, previously unknown to the Scottish game, was introduced by directors following a visit to England: the use of a ball in training. As noted in the Fife Free Press, hitherto, ball practice has been an absentee from the training curriculum on the grounds that being away from the ball for a week imparted eagerness on the Saturday. This heralded an era of success. The club had its highest ever league finish in the Scottish top division, when they came third to the Old Firm in 1921/22. This was followed by the unusual incident where the players were shipwrecked in 1923. The team had been en route to play friendly matches on the Canary Islands when the boat ran aground. Fortunately, the players were able to safely disembark and continue on their way a few days later. The team battled on during tough times between the 1920s and 1930s, but things improved by the season of 1937/38, saw Raith setting a British League record with 142 goals in just 34 league matches while winning the Second Division Championship. The record still stands today. The forward line of Glenn, Gilmore, Norrie Hayward, Whitelaw and Joyner scored 134 of the record 142 goals. Around this time, a then-record crowd of 25,500 filled Starks Park on a Wednesday afternoon for a Scottish Cup quarter-final replay against East Fife. East Fife won 3-2 and went on to become the only second-division club to win the Scottish Cup. Record appearance holder Willie McNaught first appeared for Raith during the war before signing on a contract basis when normal football resumed after the end of global hostilities. McNaught went on to make 657 senior football appearances for Rovers. Raith reached the League Cup final for the first time in 1948/49 but lost 2-0 to Rangers. In an echo of what would happen 4 decades later, the club also went on to win the Second Division title. In the period of the club's greatest high-level consistency, Rovers stayed in the top division until the season after McNaught's 1962 departure. In 1951, Raith had their largest ever gate for a Scottish Cup semi-final at Hampden Park, watched by a crowd of 84,640. Raith lost 3-2 to Celtic. Promotions, relegations and Player of the Year. A disastrous season came in 1962/63, when the club finished bottom of the First Division, conceding 118 goals in 34 games. After leaving Queen of the South, George Farm became Raith manager in 1964. Farm took Raith to promotion in 1966/67 before leaving for Fife rivals Dunfermline Athletic and was never able to repeat the Firmail when he returned in the season of 1971/72. Raith managed to avoid relegation in 1967/68, thanks to striker Gordon Wallace, who became the first player out with the Old Firm to be voted Player of the Year. He scored 27 goals in 34 matches. Although, the club did find themselves being relegated again at the end of the 1969/70 season. Nonetheless, the Rovers during this time managed to get through to the quarter-finals of the Scottish Cup for the second year running between 1970-71 and 1971-72, although the latter saw them beaten 3-1 by Kilmarnock with a crowd of 10,815. Indiana, 1975/76, the league setup changed from Divisions 1 and 2 to a 3-tier system. In the inaugural year of the system, Raith were promoted to the First Division, but were promptly relegated the next season, before bouncing back up the season after. Raith then performed reasonably well in the First Division, hovering around the top 4 until the early 1980s. A new manager, Frank Connor, took charge in early 1986, bringing many new faces onto the team, which resulted in promotion on goal difference after a 4-1 win against Stranraer on the last day of the season. The League Cup winning era. Raith reverted to being a full-time side again for the season of 1991-92, which was soon followed by winning the First Division title in the season of 1992-93. This was to start the most successful period in the club's history, which saw the team's first foray into the Scottish Premier Division but was only short-lived. On November 27, 1994, Raith, managed by Jimmy Nicholl, surprisingly beat Celtic 6-5 on penalties to win the Coca-Cola Cup, after a 2-2 draw. Future Raith manager, Gordon Dalziel, scored the equalising goal for Raith in the dying minutes of regulation time. The same season, Raith were again promoted to the Premier Division after winning the First Division title. As a result of the Cup win, Raith qualified for Europe for the first time in their history. After eliminating both the Faroese and Icelandic champions in the first 2 rounds, the club finally succumbed to eventual UEFA Cup winners Bayern Munich. They were beaten 2-0 by the German side in the first leg, which was not played at their home ground but at Easter Road, home of Hibernian FC. In the second leg, at the Olympia Stadium, they led 1-0 at half-time against all odds, eventually losing to a Euro 1. This was the first time a Scottish team had qualified for a major European competition while playing outside the top league. The same season, Raith finished sixth in the Premier League. Winning the Coca-Cola Cup, selling Steve McCarnsby and playing in the UEFA Cup generated the money needed to redevelop Starks Park as an all-seater ground with north and south stands. It was completed in time for the 1995 Euro 96 season, and Borough and Munich were invited to play a friendly in the first match in the redeveloped ground, with Raith securing a narrow 1-0 win. The end of the fairy tale. After the club were relegated from the Premier Division, they also struggled to succeed in the First Division. For the 2001 Euro 02 season they were relegated to the Second Division for the first time since 1987. The club returned to the First Division, under the leadership of Antonio Caldera Cubden in 2002 Euro 03 season. At the start of the 2004 Euro 05 season, Claude Anelka offered £300,000 to any team who would offer him a manager's job and was subsequently appointed the manager of Raith Rovers, with Antonio Caldera Cubden refusing the offer of a coaching role and leaving the club. Anelka signed a team of continental players from the lower leagues in France. A disastrous season followed, despite Anelka resigning halfway through the season and his signings either leaving, or having their contracts terminated. Raith were relegated to the Second Division after finishing bottom of the First Division with just 16 points in the season. Local takeover. During 2005 Euro 06, the future of the club looked doubtful after the club and its traditional home of Starks Park were both placed under threat by previous owners Colin McGowan and Alex Short. The Glasgow-based property developers had repeatedly threatened to sell Starks Park for housing in a bid to find a buyer for their 50% stake in the club, and after months of legal and financial wrangling a deal was struck with their company, West City Development. Former chairman Turnbull Hutton and director Mario Kyra, who were part of West City, retained their investment and have been joined by major investor John Sim, a Thailand-based senior financial figure with liquidator KPMG. The Reclaim the Rovers fans campaign, which was launched in a bid to secure a local future for the club, has also secured a place for a supporters representative on the New Look board after raising £100,000 towards the final figure. On December 30, 2005, Raith Rovers' future was secured after a £1.2 million community buyout assisted by the then Chancellor of the Exchequer Gordon Brown, who became Prime Minister, and is a fan and shareholder of the club. Previous chairman David Sinton also completed work on the takeover. On May 2, 2009, Raith secured the Second Division title with a 1-0 win at the home of Scottish football, Hampden Park, with a travelling support of over 1,500. They lifted the trophy in front of almost 5,000 the following week following a 0-0 draw with Arbroath. As of 2011 Euro 12. Raith operate with a squad comprising a mixture of full and part-time professionals. On April 6, 2014, Raith won the 2014 Scottish Challenge Cup final 1-0 against Rangers after extra time. Colours and badge: Raith's kit consists of white tops with navy blue detailing, with white shorts and navy blue socks. The away kit consists of a red shirt with blue detailing with red shorts and socks. This has not changed entering the new season. Raith's current badge has been used since 1998, replacing the previous lion and shield motif used in different colour combinations since 1985. Stadium. Fife rivalries. There are 3 other senior league teams in Fife, with East Fife around 8 miles to the east, and Cowdenbeath and Dunfermline Athletic 9 and 14 miles respectively, to the west. Their traditional derby is with East Fife. Their biggest rivalry though is with Dunfermline Athletic, with the Fife Derby encounter at East End Park in April 2011, attracting a crowd of over 11,000 supporters. Raith maintain crowds of comfortably over 1,500 in the First Division, with crowds rising substantially for derby fixtures. In addition to Gordon Brown, celebrity fans include authors Ian Rankin and Val McDermid and Coldplay bassist Guy Berryman. In June 2011, McDermid joined the board of directors. Craig Levine was a supporter as a boy. Fictional. In Giles Fodden's novel The Last King of Scotland it is mentioned that Nicholas Garrigan, the fictional protagonist, is a Raith Rovers fan. Ian Rankin has stated that Detective John Rebus is a Raith Rovers supporter. Players Current squad as of October 25, 2015. Note: flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. Out on loan note: flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. The Coca-Cola Cup winning team some notable players from the team that lifted the 1994 Euro 95 Scottish League Cup: Sean Dennis over 400 appearances in 3 different spells between 1988 to Euro 2004 before taking on a coaching role for a short period. Also played for Hibernian and Brechin City. Colin Cameron Mickey, a former Scottish internationalist who started his career with Raith Rovers. He was signed by Hearts where he won the Scottish Cup in 1998 before moving on to Wolves, Coventry City and Milton Keynes Dons. Currently he is the player-manager at Berwick Rangers. Jason Dyer experienced midfielder Dyer, who can also play in defence, has also played for Millwall and Dunfermline, among many other teams. Like his one-time teammate, Sean Dennis, Jason had 3 different spells at Raith. Stevie Crawford a former Scottish international who started his career with Raith Rovers. He is now the assistant manager at Hearts. He played for Cowdenbeath after being released from his second spell with Dunfermline. Stevie has also played for Millwall, Hibernian, Plymouth Argyle, Dundee United, Aberdeen and East Fife. Gordon Dalziel a record league goalscorer for Raith Rovers with 154 goals in the 1980s and 1990s, who returned as a manager in 2004. Scored the equalising goal in the cup final. David Neri MBE a veteran player, formerly of Dundee United, famous for his goal against Brazil in the 1982 World Cup. David retired after the Coca-Cola Cup win, in which he was named man of the match. Steve McCarnsby a sold to Bolton Wanderers for Raith's record transfer fee of £900,000 at the end of the 1994 Euro 95 season. Now coaching in the US. The money from his transfer helped redevelop Starks Park. Managers, some notable managerial appointments: 1945 1961, Bert Herdman oversaw some of the club's most successful seasons and a sustained period in the top flight. 1964 1967 and 1971 1974, George Farm in a career of distinction in both playing and managing. Farm included a promotion success with Raith among the numerous achievements he enjoyed throughout his career. 1986 1990, Frank Connor took the club from depths of the second division to a solid first division spot. 1990 1996, Jimmy Nicholl manager who won 2 first division titles, the historic League Cup victory and oversaw Rovers' only foray into European competition. Rovers managers since World War II. Honours: Scottish First Division, winners 1907 08, 1937 38, 1948 49, 1992 93, 1994 95, runners-up, 1908 09, 1909 10, 1926 27, 1966 67, 2010 11. Scottish Second Division, winners 2002 03, 2008 09, runners-up, 1975 76, 1977 78, 1986 87. Scottish Cup, runners-up, 1912 13. Scottish League Cup, winners 1994 95, runners-up, 1948 49. Scottish Challenge Cup, winners 2013 14. Fife Cup, winners 2001 02, 2003 04, 2011 12, runners-up, 2007 08. Club records. Record attendance, 31,306 vs Hearts, February 7, 1953. Record victory, 10-1 vs Coldstream, Scottish Cup, 1954. Record defeat, 2-11 vs Morton, Division 2, 1936. League goal scoring record, Norman Hayward 1937/38, 42 goals, most league goals, Gordon Dalziel, 154, most goals in a league season, 142, 1937-38, most capped player, David Morris, 6 caps for Scotland, highest transfer fee paid, A. £225,000 for Paul Harvey, highest transfer fee received, A. £900,000 for Steve McCarnsby. European record. See also, Mackay's Battalion. References. External links, official site, Raith Rovers F.C. On Facebook, Raith Rovers F.C. On Twitter, BBC Sport homepage for club, Raith TV live match audio commentary site.